Good morning, everyone. Before we get started with today's story, I just ask that you like and subscribe to my channel. It's a small request, but it would mean a lot to me. So, without further ado, let's dive into today's tale. Jack was a good guy. He took out a worn silver dollar and tossed it into the air. The eagle, Gina, the bartender standing behind the counter, grinned. She put a bowl of pretzels in one and a bowl of Spanish peanuts in the other. She watched him flip the coin again, surprised at his idiosyncrasy. Tails, she thought, putting the peanuts in front of him and leaning on the counter. How long is this crazy experiment of yours going to last? What is it? She asked. Gina didn't know whether to be happy or sorry when he started showing up at the bar a couple of weeks ago, tossing that damn coin. She wondered if he was crazy. It didn't take her long to realize. He was smart, pleasant to talk to, easy to communicate with, and had a good sense of humor. There was just a hidden sadness about him that got to her. She had seen it often enough in her work, but for some reason this guy got to her. "Is that the end of your visits?" she asked. He chuckled. "That would be pretty stupid, wouldn't it? I'm just starting to get to know you." She was surprised by the glint in his eyes and the flirtatious tone. Whatever was bothering him, he was getting better. What kind of tablet is this? He was holding his tablet and watching some video. She couldn't make out what it was, but he seemed focused on it. "I have a problem with rats at home. I'm trying to take care of it," he replied, and there was that glint in his eyes again. He was enjoying something, a fighter jet. "What is it?" He flipped a coin and she saw him smirk before tapping something on the screen. "Eagle, today is the day. Do you have time, Gina? And the place," she joked. "It's 3, just to give you a heads up, it's 45 pounds p.m. You arrived 20 minutes early today, which is great. Do you think you could get Marty to make me that burger you keep telling me about? You got it, handsome. I'll only be able to get one a week, as you know. After the first one, you'll probably want more, but I'm not responsible for your heart attack if that happens." "Wearing tight jeans," Jack replied, dodging a crumpled napkin thrown at him by a grinning barmaid. Jack looked around the bar, taking in the rare customers. There were only 6 people there. He held up his credit card, drawing Gina's attention. "I want to celebrate," he said. "I'll buy drinks for everyone, including you and Marty." He was a bit of a loner, so it surprised her that he'd made an effort to come in today. She took his card and ran her finger over it, then reached out and rang an old brass bell, attracting everyone's attention. She announced that everyone could enjoy free drinks courtesy of her good friend Jack Atkins. Jack thanked her and she said, "Meanwhile," in her husband's apartment, Lauren closed her eyes and turned her head slightly. She breathed through her mouth to avoid the acrid smell of sweat coming from that guy's body. Even the half-dozen scented candles she'd placed all over the bedroom couldn't neutralize his stench. She made all the necessary love sounds. It wasn't that bad 5 years ago when they were in college. Everything was fine, but things were different now. She wanted to be anywhere but here with him, but it couldn't be any other way. She would put up with it for a little longer. She would pay for his silence with her body if necessary. He would leave. In less than 2 months, she'll be able to handle everything. The first time was almost 6 weeks ago, which was the most difficult, but she's gradually getting used to it. "Use me, baby. It's so nice," she pleaded. Doug pushed into her, looking at that beauty beneath him. "That's it," he growled. "You know what you've done." She'd been missing all these years, just you, Dougie. She added this for effect, not for the first time. She wondered if she'd made the right choice. He'd said this meeting would be the last and she'd never hear from him again. Well, of course, that's exactly what the bastard said, almost 5 years ago. Meanwhile, at the bar last, "You can change your mind if you want to, Jack," he muttered. "What was that?" Gina asked. She placed a huge bacon cheeseburger on a plate in front of him. It was made with a pound of minced meat, 8 slices of thick sliced bacon, 4 slices of cheese with pepper, 2 fried eggs, and a spoonful of chili. It was more than 24 ounces of burger decadence. Jack replied, "There's too much for one person to eat it all. Do you want me to share?" She laughed and replied, "Yes, of course. I'm working hard to fit into these jeans you liked. I couldn't help but notice the food you're offering me would make me wear cow clothes. I'm sure you can come up with something." Jack cut the burger in half, then looked at the video, reached out, and pressed the flashing button. He laughed, picked up the burger himself, and took a huge bite, watching someone's antics on the screen. Gina leaned back and watched him. wondering where this change came from. Meanwhile, at Jack's husband's house, what was going on? Was that Lauren asked loudly, pushing Doug away and trying to sit up. She could have sworn she heard the door slam. I didn't hear anything, Lucy. I'm home. Oh my God, he's here. Then there's the whole Canadian Army to consider, honey. Her husband's drunken voice sounded loudly outside the door. His next words were preceded by the distinctive sound of a shotgun reloading. I have a great gift for you and your lover. Doug literally jumped off the bed, getting his feet tangled in the sheet and falling face down. He grabbed his pants. There was a loud bang, as if a shotgun had been fired close by. He climbed up on the window and tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. Open this door now, Lauren hissed. Another shot was heard, followed by a knock on the door. You have 5 seconds to open this door. If you do, I will only kill one of you. The laughter sounded almost insane. Eagle, I tried to stay away from your lover, Doug. He wrapped his pants around his arm and hit the glass with all his might, smashing it to smithereens. Come on, come on, come on, Lauren screamed, while Doug was trying to remove the jagged fragments. The alarm system in the house began to wail like a shrill siren. Damn, Lauren said. Just what they need. 3, 2, go, she added. Ahead, Lauren shouted, pushing Doug hard from behind so that he flew head first from the second floor. She turned to see if her husband was coming in through the door, when she climbed through the hole in the window herself. Gina watched Jack toss a coin, chuckling. The eagle, he said, looking up at her. Lauren saw flames creeping up both sides. The candles were falling from the window, one ready or not. I'm coming. She climbed out the window, cutting her arm and leg along the way, and jumped out, trying to clean up the landscape below. She hit the ground hard and felt a sharp pain in her ankle. She was immediately soaked through. Damn it, the sprinklers were on. Why were they on? The sprinklers had been turned on. Lauren looked around for Doug and saw that he was trying to get out of the huge rose bushes, whining and trying to push the branches apart. The bush was about 6 feet tall, 180 centimeters. She should have cut it herself when her demands to deal with the overgrown shrubbery were ignored. Even then, she should have guessed that. Something was wrong. Her husband had been in a gloomy mood for several weeks. She decided it was time to take action. She turned away from the house and almost fainted. The school bus was parked on the corner, unloading the children, and everyone was looking in their direction. She turned around and she looked for somewhere to hide and found the garage, where their cars were parked away from prying eyes. She dialed the code on the remote 3 times, then realized he must have changed it. Open up, you stupid fool, she said. Doug has changed the code, you idiot. She ran to the backyard gate. She pulled the handle, but it was padlocked from the inside. The fence was 8 feet high, and it was almost impossible to climb over it. They'd installed a swimming pool when they'd built the house, so there'd be no outsiders in the backyard. Lauren looked back at the house and stared at it in shock. The entire upper floor seemed to be on fire. They managed to get out through the window, but he must still be inside. She turned back to the street and noticed that the neighbors were watching her. Martha was standing on the sidewalk across the street filming them on her iPhone. Lauren limped over to her and snatched the phone out of the hands of a terrified neighbor. Jack was surprised to hear his phone ringing. Jack picked up the phone. Jack Atkins. Baby, I'm sorry, but you have to get out of the house. Get out now. He's on fire. Hide the shotgun. We won't tell anyone. You have to get out of there right now. Calm down, Lauren. What's the problem? Listen, Jack. Get out of the house. The bed is on fire. You have to get out. Do something with the boat. I'm going to say I don't have a shotgun, but I don't know what that guy's going to do, so you're going to have to leave him. Jack pressed the camera selection button and zoomed in. Lauren limped nervously down the driveway, her hand covering her phone as she spoke. But I'm not in the house. Jack explained carefully. I don't know what you're playing at, but there is no time for that. I know what you're up to, but there's no time for that. I can already hear the sirens. Leave through the Simmons backyard, but drop the shotgun and don't go out the front door. Do you hear me? Jack stared at the coin in his hand. He didn't have a die to cast at this turn of events. Okay, honey, I'm not at home anymore. He heard her sob. Thank God. Now, hurry up. I'm really sorry, Jack. I never wanted any of this to happen. I love you. At the source of all her problems, someone threw a jacket over her shoulders. When she turned around, she saw Cindy, who lived 2 houses away. Cindy was next door to her. Lauren, the blonde, whispered, "Don't let them see you like this." Lauren saw a fire truck approaching, followed by a police car. She felt tears welling up in her eyes and looked into the concerned face of her neighbor. She reached out and grabbed Cindy's hand. She took her hand out of her jacket and put it in the other sleeve, then buttoned up the front. Thankfully, the jacket was too big and reached to her mid-thighs. She gave Cindy a grateful look. Cindy hugged her from behind with one arm. "It's going to be okay," she said. Lauren let out a painful laugh. "I don't think so," Cindy replied. "But thanks anyway." They both stepped aside to the pavement as firefighters poured out of their car. Two of them, using a hose, released a powerful jet of water into her bedroom, while two more broke through the front door to get into the house. Gina leaned over the bar and watched the scene play out on his tablet screen. Firefighters were crowded around the house while the man was being led away from the camera. "What show are you watching?" he asked. "This live news?" Jack chuckled. "It's a reality show." He turned off the tablet, looked at her, and tossed a coin. "Tails, beer." He nodded. By 7:30 p.m., a decent crowd had gathered in the bar. Gina was worried about her new favorite client. He was in such a good mood for the first time since he started visiting this place, but now he's back to his usual habits, emptying his 5th glass of beer. Everything was wrong today. He never stayed here for more than an hour or so, sipping his 2 glasses before disappearing. She was glad he'd eaten the burger. He'd also taken some of the booze. The noise level in the bar dropped to almost 0, so she looked around to see what had happened. A disheveled brunette stood in the doorway and looked around. The young woman looked in Gina's direction and walked with a severe limp. She was in a complete mess, barefoot with. She had bandages on her hip, shin, and arm. She was wearing a dark blue lightweight jacket and nothing else. There was a lot of makeup on, which showed she had been crying. The crowd outside the bar parted as she approached. Jack got up from his seat and invited her to sit down. The woman asked how long he had been there. Jack turned to Gina and asked what time it was. He got in around 15:40. The woman looked at Gina and said he'd been there the whole time. Gina nodded and said she didn't think he'd left the place. "I was beginning to wonder if he had a bladder the size of Lake Michigan." Jack walked over to the bar, grabbed the only empty stool, brought it back and placed it next to the woman. "How rude of me, Gina. This is my ex. Lauren, this is the best bartender in town." Lauren stared at her husband in silence. How he shrugged his shoulders. "Does it really matter?" She shook her head. "I think not." "Can you tell me why you know why?" He laughed. "I should have asked you that question." He expected to see anger, but all he saw was sadness. "I think that's fair. Will you buy your I think I forgot my purse somewhere? I think I could use something stronger," Jack said. "On the beach will do for her." Gina smiled at him. "This is a bourbon lover's mouthpiece." She turned around and started making drinks. Jack said, "How could he blackmail you? Just tell me and I'll deal with it." Lauren pushed her hair back. "I did a lot of stupid things in college. I experimented with illegal substances, which led to even more stupid things." "You don't even drink or smoke," Jack said. "Not anymore, not after what happened." Jack asked for a very explicit video, which was shameful and disgusting. There was me and another girl in a room full of guys. I was completely out of my mind, and I don't remember this incident at all, but it was definitely me. I remember lying in the hospital afterwards. "You could have told me anyway. That was before we got married. I don't hold a grudge against you." Her shoulders, maybe. "You don't know about my job, my family, your family, our friends, our church." "You're joking, right?" "Debbie, that other girl found out the hard way. Just give me a hint, Jack." No barmaid in her right mind would yell at a man who drinks something so fruity. He chuckled. "I'm sorry, Gina. I couldn't help myself. I've always wanted to order this." She also chuckled. "That's better. Make her 46. After your colleague gets caught cheating." Jack turned back to his wife. "You should have told me anyway, Lauren. I don't know what we could do, but we could solve this together." She drained the rest of her drink, the suffering bastard. It was only once a week, less than 3 months. Then he swore that it would be over. "I was foolish and afraid. I didn't want to lose you. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. You should have told me." Jack insisted she lower her head. "I know. I'm sorry. You have no idea how sorry I am. I didn't know what to do. It all happened so fast. The first time, he insisted that I do it right there. Otherwise, he would send this DVD to everyone. He'd post it on the internet. He'll send you to work via the internet. That's what I did. I hated every minute of it, but I did it. I've come this far, so I realized it was too late. A few more months, and it will all be over. I'm not very smart, am I? The dying bastard. Why don't you put him out of his misery? Gina said, taking the empty glass and replacing it with a new one. I feel like there's some kind of... Lauren said. Jack leaned closer to her. It wasn't a smart move. We have to be a team. Lauren, I would support you no matter what. Even after the first time you should have come to me. I know. Don't you think I know, Jack? It's too late now. I'm sure everyone we know will get a copy of the recording soon. I don't think Doug is very happy with me. Why did you? You call me Lauren. I threatened your life and your lover's. Please don't, Jack. Don't call him that. There was no love. Trust me. Jack nodded. I threatened you and your blackmailer. Why did you call me? I couldn't let you get hurt. It's not your fault. I knew you were in pain. You were drinking and acting sullen. You haven't touched me in weeks. I wanted to fall into your arms. I wanted to hug her and tell her everything. But I kept thinking, in a few more weeks, it'll all be over. I could spend the rest of my life making amends to her, but I couldn't let her get hurt or in trouble because of my mistake. She took a sip from her glass and made a face. Gina said, Are you going to drink this stuff? He asked, holding up that orange mixture in front of him. I think I'll pass, Jack said. It's been half an hour since Angela arrived. I'm not at work anymore. Do you mind if I take it? Please help yourself, Gina said, leaning over and sipping her drink shamelessly. She was eavesdropping on the strange couple in front of her. I guess we don't stand a chance now, do we? Lauren asked. You were having sex with someone else in our house in our bed a few months ago. You hid it from me and made me think I was the only one. You treated me like I was an idiot. I don't think there's anything left of our marriage. Lauren turned away from him, tears welling up, and reached for her glass. She drained it and turned it upside down. Gina got up and started preparing the next cocktail to finish off the poor thing. What's next for us? Jack, will you give me any hope? We've had 3 wonderful years. I love you, and I know that you still love me. I have the divorce papers. I thought we could discuss them later. I'm not sure you're ready for this right now. He sipped his bourbon. I have to tell you that you won't be leaving with the winnings. She nodded and said, 60-40 in your favor, 70-30, no, 50-50, but there's not much to divide. I was fired last week, so I don't have any money for alimony. There won't be any alimony. Our bank accounts are almost empty. The home repair insurance deductible will take the last of the cash we have. Maybe there'll be 30. We have 0,000 in real estate, but after repairs and fees to the realtor, we'll be lucky if we have anything left. I think you've been pretty thorough. I take it you've known everything for a long time. You've had plenty of time to get ready to burn my stupid ass. Lauren, you'll get your car, but you'll still have to pay for it for 2 more years. Everything you had is inside the house, but I think your wardrobe burned down. There was nothing left but the funeral. Take your time with him. He hits you hard in the head. Lauren took a sip from the last glass and turned back to Jack. How did you manage to do that? She asked. Obviously you have a damn good alibi. Jack turned on the tablet and showed her the videos. 6 small icons on the side, unfolded into full screens. Video 2 is from the bedroom. There are 2 more from the front of the house. One is at the entrance and the other is from the bedroom corridor. Lauren said, You videotaped us. How did you end up in 2 places at the same time? Do you see the big air vent in the hallway? There are 2 massive speakers installed here. Hi Lucy, I'm home. Is that all? Did we almost kill ourselves over the recording? Lauren immediately drained half of her glass. This and a few more preparations. It doesn't seem like you had much trouble destroying me. In fact, you destroyed me first. I've never loved anyone as much as you. You ripped out my heart and tore it to shreds when you said all that to that bastard in our bed. You made it sound like you didn't have anyone like him. Lauren blushed deeply. I'm sorry you heard that to amuse his ego so that he would go away and leave me alone. I don't think we've ever spent more than 15 minutes in bed. That's why I said that this is not an excuse. I understand that, and I'm very sorry. Yes, I eventually realized. But in the first few weeks it just destroyed me completely. Gina spoke up. She's never humiliated you, has she? The idea that Jack might be available, but now she saw a different side of him. He seemed dangerous, like someone you don't want to have problems with. Cold, calculating, and thoughtful. She made the last drink and watched as Jack pulled his stool up to his wife's chair. He straightened the bottom of her jacket, revealing wide hips, and hugged her. Lauren felt his hand on her waist and clung to him. "I've ruined everything, haven't I, baby?" "That's right." Lauren crushed our marriage like a grape. She laughed at our vows. "What am I supposed to do now? Where will I go?" Jack was going to leave her, destroy it completely. Now he's changed his mind. This phone call. Why did she do this? He pulled out a coin, named the Side Angel. She watched the coin flip in the air, wondering how much of her future was connected to this random event. Jack caught the coin and placed it on his forearm, slowly opening it. "Go back to the house tomorrow and I'll get the renovation started. You'll find a job you can use to support yourself." "Where did you say I'd stay with you?" "I have a hotel room with separate beds." "You don't think I'm going to sleep with you after you've been with that bastard, do you? Were you planning on letting me use your dirty business again?" "I've never done that, Jack. I always wash thoroughly. I swear it. Every time, Lauren. Every time he growled, she cried even harder. "I'm really sorry. I needed it. I needed your love to erase that. It was a horrible feeling when I was with him. I didn't mean to disrespect you, Lauren. I'm really sorry. I never meant to hurt you." Jack was so upset. "It hurts so much. I didn't think anything could hurt that much." A drink appeared in front of them. "My A Phase 4 is out." "It's incredible." Gina leaned over and grabbed Jack's arm. "It's her drink, but I think you'll choose your destination. What will it be, hell, heaven, or purgatory?" Jack pulled out a coin and looked at it. "What? Are you serious? You're going to throw a coin on this woman's life?" G almost exploded. Lauren sat up and glared at the woman she considered her rival. "This is a better chance than I deserve." She turned to her husband. "May I ask?" Gina stared at them. "Why the coin?" "Jack, seriously, I need to know." Jack put the coin on the counter and twirled it on the edge. "It seemed to me that I was making a lot of bad decisions, starting with my marriage. I decided to let the occasion do its thing. A coin flip brought me to this place. She made me act out my revenge from a distance instead. She controlled every step that took me so far. It's probably just a mental prop. It's easier to live with every decision you make if it's not my fault. Let the gods decide for themselves." Lauren took one last sip. "What choice do I have?" "Jack, I don't want to get your hopes up." "Lauren, the marriage is over. I'm only considering the way there and the consequences." Jack explained, "So this is hell. No matter what," she pouted. Jack tossed a coin, caught it, and slapped his hand. "What's the choice?" "Please," Lauren begged. "I won, Tails. You've lost. There's no way I'm letting you go to hell. Let's face it, our little piece of paradise is lost." He turned to Gina. "Gina, I need you to take care of this." Gina felt as confused as Lauren. She calculated the cost of the last drinks and gave Jack the bill. He signed it, opened his wallet, and put a banknote on top. "Thanks for sticking with me, Gina." She nodded slowly. He was a bit strange. She put the $1,100 in her pocket and the signed check in the cash register. She walked around the bar, watching him get up and help his wife up. Gina grabbed Jack's arm. He turned to her, surprised. She surprised him by putting her arms around his neck and kissing him hard. "Don't torture this woman, Jack. I like you, Jack. Despite all this madness, I think you're a good person. You don't have to prove me wrong." Jack smiled and pulled his beloved barmaid to him and kissed her hard. "I won't hurt her in a few months. I'll get divorced and be free. I hope you don't mind, but I'd be interested to see how things go between us." Lauren started for the door but turned around and saw her husband kissing a tall, stunning woman. She felt her heart flutter. She stumbled and grabbed his arm. "No, not yet. You're still mine until the court says otherwise." "My angel, you've already decided otherwise. I don't think I'm married to you anymore. We'll get divorced, and I won't sleep with other women. But you don't have any rights over me, so that's it." "Have I already quit the game?" Jack pulled her to him and hugged her tightly. "Our marriage is over. We'll get divorced in 3 months. I'll start all over again. I'm not going to give up on you, Jack. No way. I'm going to change. You're mine. I love you, and you love me. That's all that matters. I'll win you back," she argued. Jack grinned, leaned over and gave her a quick kiss. "Maybe it will be so. You've already done it once. Maybe you can do it again, but this time you will have a competitor." Lauren stared at him, trying to make sense of his words. She screamed and wrapped her arms around him, hugging him desperately. "Do I still have a chance, really?" Jack nodded. "Purgatory. A time for purification and a chance to find grace. No hell for you, my little angel. You'll get your paradise. Ultimately, it's just a matter of whether he'll still be with me. That's where you're mistaken, Jack. We're meant to be together. I messed up. I messed up a lot, but no one will ever love you as much as I do." She looked at Gina and smiled coldly. "The game has started." Gina watched. As the two of them turned and left the bar, Jack was supporting his awkwardly drunk wife. She sighed. She knew that her chances of winning this competition were slim. The ignorant little scammer had lost and quit the game, but managed to clear the entire board with one last bet. It was hard for her to explain to herself why she did it. She ran to the door and caught up with them just a few dozen steps to the parking lot. She grabbed Jack, almost knocking him down, and kissed him again, pressing her whole body against him as if claiming him. When she pulled back, she smiled broadly. "The game has started," Lauren said. She was about to explode when the Amazon turned and hugged her. "I hope you succeed," she said. "I hope you do, but if you don't, I swear I'll take it from you. I'll keep it for myself and never let it go. You only have one chance, so don't mess up this time." Gina went back to the bar to get her things and went back to her empty apartment. She saw that Jack had left his silver dollar on the bar. She picked it up, tested it, felt the weight, threw it in the air, caught it, and checked it. She was disappointed. Tails. What would that mean?